With the players now moving to our whim, we can get them firing projectiles on their own. Before we do anything else, we need a custom function, getLayer. This will give us the ability to find our game's levels, on which we'll place our bullets. In usermain's header file, we want to use a new access modifier, internal. We want to access this function from outside usermain, and this will let us do just that. getLayer is our function. It takes one argument, the ID of the player, and in turn it will return to us a Rapid2D layer pointer. In usermains.cpp file now, we create the function itself. It simply calls mRenderMain's getLayer function and returns the result. Usermain has access to the function, however our scripts do not. Usermain will work as our middleman. Feel free to pause the video and take this in. Now we can get to the bullets. First we'll get the bullets to move when they're created or fire from their creation point. Set gravity to 0 and also its velocity. We also set it as a trigger, so it will no longer collide physically, only logically. When the bullet is created, we want it to have a slight deviation instead of travelling at a common angle. Here, deviation contains a random number from -5 to +5. We set its rotation to a base of -90 degrees to face it to the right and add our minor deviation. Next up, we set its tag. We'll be using this to make it work as an actual bullet later. We add and set its texture, set its scale to make our image fit the size of the ship, and for good measure, we add it to a collision group. And finally, we give it a shove upwards or positively on the y-axis to propel it forward. Note the final 0 in the add force function. If we had a 1 here, it would propel the bullet up according to the screen, or along the global coordinates. Instead, we push it along its local coordinates. Together with our rotation, this pushes the bullet towards the right. The last thing we do in the bullet class is simply destroy it if it travels beyond our screen boundary. We don't want hundreds of bullets flying around off screen. We now move to player.cpp where we add a sound effect. This will be played later every time the player fires a bullet. The 0 in the function denotes that the sound will only be played once rather than loop. Next, we'll want to include the bullet header file. Since we'll be creating bullets from within the player class, we'll need to have access to the bullet class. And finally, we can bring our bullets to the game world. Firstly, we create a pointer to usermain, which we'll be using to access functions in usermain. You'll see this line a few more times in the future. The code we have below, in simple terms, will only execute every 111 frames. In more depth, we use modulus. If the current frame number can be divided by 111 wholly, or in other words, with no remainders, we execute the following code. First, we create a bullet object, stored in a bullet pointer called bullet. It will be created at the player's current coordinates. We next add this object to usermain, utilising our getLayer function in the process. This will display the bullet to the game screen. And finally, we play our sound effect. We now have moving, shooting players. See you in the next part when we start bringing enemies to life.